And welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is another match reaction show, 5 takeaways from Fulham's victory against Leeds United. And I'm going to go through it in the next 10 to 15 minutes. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Okay, very good. So let's go through my 5 takeaways. We did do a post-match show, myself and Max Cohen. Please do check that out. But this is another reaction to this huge Fulham victory. So let's start with number 5. And number 5 involves Leeds United. And Leeds United desperately needed this match against Fulham. They needed all 3 points. And I'm going to ask the question. Number 5 is, where was the fight from Leeds United? I didn't see it. And to be honest with you, I expected much more from Leeds United. I understand that they were without Tyler Adams and did not really have the ability to control the play from midfield. Fulham controlled the play. But I just didn't see that intensity that you see from teams that are fighting to stay in the Premier League. So that was the one thing that really stood out for me when it comes to Leeds United. They have some very good players. A couple of players that I wouldn't mind seeing on Fulham Football Club. Unfortunately, one of them is Adams, and he is injured. But I will say that there are a couple of other players there that I wouldn't mind seeing on Fulham. But I just didn't see that tenacity, that fight to get all 3 points. Believe it or not, I actually saw it for Fulham in the second half. The first half was more of a cagey affair, but the second half, I saw Fulham take it to Leeds United, which I expected to see from Leeds United taking it to Fulham. Well, we just didn't see that. So that's why my number 5 takeaway from this match is, where was the fight from Leeds United? It was missing. And I can see them struggling to stay in the Premier League. That's why that's my number 5. Number 4, and this is, I guess you could say, a mea culpa on me. Max and I spoke about this on the post-match show because we've been very critical of Anthony Robinson in his play recently for Fulham. At the beginning of the season, I thought he was excellent. Defensively, fantastic, shutting down a lot of wingers and being dangerous going forward. However, there is a weakness to his game, and that's his crossing ability. We saw an improved effort from his crosses, and that actually set up the second goal. So for me, my number 4, Anthony Robinson, was much improved in this match. It goes above and beyond just the crossing, though. His overall game, defensively, offensively, it was a complete performance. I've been waiting for him to get back to where he was prior. Now, I also think his partnership with Willian is very important in his development as a player. So when he's been out, I don't think that Anthony Robinson has been the same player. But when he's on the same page with Willian, you could see the growth of Anthony Robinson. He wants to be a top player. I still think he has the potential to be a top player. The question will be, can he do this consistently? Because I think that's what's lacking from his game. It's the overall consistency to be a 7 and 8 out of 10. He can be a 5, 6, but we need him to be a 7 or an 8. He was probably an 8 in this match. And many had him as man of the match, and I certainly understand that. Difference maker. And then, of course, on the other side, when you have Kenny Tete, when you have both fullbacks playing at a high level, it makes Fulham a very dangerous team to play against. So that's why his much improved performance is my number 4. Very important. Now let's go to number 3. And this is an interesting one because I'm one that has said that I wanted the partnership this season up until this point to stay with Diop and Ream. Ream is going to see the season out. Diop, I haven't seen him do much wrong. He's had some games where he hasn't been at his best. But overall, I still don't know why he was dropped. However, I have to give it to Tosin. This is why my number 3 takeaway is Tosin is making a strong argument for a new contract, whether it's with Fulham whether it's someplace else, Tosin is going for it. He is really showing what he can offer, not just Fulham Football Club, but any other football club that's looking for a center back. So I think this is positive news for Fulham regardless, because you're getting good performances out of Tosin. But the price keeps going up every time he plays well. And I think his situation, part of the reason why we're seeing these great performances is urgency. And that's a good thing. When a player is playing to try to get a better contract, which I think Tosin's doing here, you get a very motivated player. And I think we're seeing the best out of Tosin. I think we saw that last season as well, but I think recently we're seeing the best version of Tosin. This is a good situation for him, but Fulham are also benefiting from the improved play. So hats off to Tosin for really upping his game the last couple matches. I am a real big fan of Diop. In fact, I wanted Diop and Tosin to partner up at some point, but that really hasn't worked out. It hasn't. That we have not seen that. So it's interesting that we've gone from Tosin and Ream to Diop and Ream. Now we're back to Tosin and Ream. And I think we might see that the rest of the season. And he's done nothing to be dropped. So for me, I want to give major kudos to Tosin because I think he's playing at an extremely high level. Let's now go to my number 2 takeaway. And this now goes back to Harry Wilson. I mentioned this in a prior show. My number 2 takeaway, Harry Wilson is back to the player from last season. He was phenomenal for Fulham last season. Did he have some games where maybe he didn't show up as much as others? Absolutely. But overall, I thought that Harry Wilson would be able to build upon from last season. Unfortunately, as we talked about in the post-match show, he got injured in a behind-the-scenes friendly at the beginning, not even at the beginning of the season. We're talking still in the preseason. And this affected him to getting back to where he needed to be. He came back from the injury, but was not the same player. People keep saying this about Harry Wilson. He's a confidence player. I absolutely agree with it because once he got one goal, once he got one good performance, he's now building upon it. And I think Harry Wilson is going to make an argument to start every match moving forward for the rest of the season. He's going to make it difficult for a player like Bobby Decordova-Reid to get his position back. He's playing that well. He's playing on the front foot. And not only that, he's showing his skill with his shot making. Very good from Harry Wilson. I'm very impressed with how he has played lately. He's taken this opportunity that he's had and he's running with it. And let's hope we see it for the rest of the season. Argument with him has been good championship player. Can he play in the Premier League? He's trying to prove that he can play in the Premier League. And I'm going to tell you right now, he can play in the Premier League. Goes back, though, to, just like Anthony Robinson, consistency. Can we see this each and every match from Harry Wilson? We've now seen it back to back. Fulham are playing Aston Villa. I do expect Harry Wilson to start. Let's see it 3 in a row. Then you have a trend. Then you know you're seeing a player headed in the right direction. Harry Wilson has a lot of talent. It's time to see if he can keep it going for the rest of the season, and I hope he can. That's why my number 2 takeaway, once again, Harry Wilson is back to the player from last season. Coming up next, I'm going to share my number 1 takeaway from Fulham's victory against Leeds United, and I will also share some quick thoughts on the upcoming match against Aston Villa. Okay, my number 1 takeaway from this match is going to take us for the rest of the season. My number 1 takeaway, Fulham can get their best points total in the Premier League. This match convinced me that they can do it. 3 victories would do it, and I think they have that in them. There are some winnable matches coming up. The Aston Villa match is going to be difficult. But for those who thought Fulham were on the beach, I guess you could say they were wrong because Fulham are going out there and they are taking it to their opponents. They took it to Everton in the second half. They took it to Leeds United. And I do think that they will battle with Aston Villa. I actually think they have a very good chance of going to Anfield and get all 3 points against Liverpool. Man City, I'm not expecting anything from. But beyond that, there are winnable matches. And I know we're all looking forward to the final match of the season. Yes, against Manchester United. I would not bet against Fulham to beat Manchester United. That is going to be personal. And that's why I think Fulham have a very good opportunity to get their best points total ever in the Premier League, which would be quite an achievement. Can they get Europe? I don't think that is in the cards. Would I love to see it? Of course I would. But it just might be a bridge too far for Fulham to do. But I think that they should continue to go for it. Marco is a manager that plays in the front foot. Marco wants to win as many matches as possible. So he's not going to let them be on the beach, as some have suggested. Fulham aren't on the beach. They just actually have been struggling to figure out a way to score goals without Mitro. Now I think they have a solution. I think they absolutely have a solution. And I think they're going to continue to score goals and play another way without Mitro. That is why I would not bet against them getting their points total and making it interesting with Europe. I just think that is just going to be a little bit too far away. The points total? No, it's possible. And I'm going to say they're going to do it. I'm going to go on a limb right now. I think they can actually break the points total. So to finish up this quick episode of Cottage Talk, I'm going to share my quick thoughts on the Aston Villa match. Aston Villa have been tremendous. I could say simply after they played Fulham, that was the turning page for their season. They got rid of their manager. They brought in Unai Emery, who's been fantastic for them. They're playing for the manager. They're difficult to play against, and this will be a difficult match for Fulham. However, I actually think Fulham match up pretty well with Aston Villa, and I think they have a shot to get all 3 points. I wouldn't bet against them getting all 3 points. However, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to go with a draw. I'm not going with a Fulham loss. I'm going with a 1-1 draw for Fulham against Aston Villa. I'll give you the starting 11 that I think Marco's going to go with. I'm going to say it's going to be Leno and net, Kenny Tete on the right, on the left, Anthony Robinson, Tosin and Ream. It's going to be in the center of the park. It's going to be Paulinho, Reed, Pereira, on the left, Willian, on the right, Harry Wilson, up front, Dan James. That's the starting 11 I think Marco will go with, and I actually agree with that starting 11. That's what I would go with, but that's what I think Marco's going to go with. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this quick episode of Cottage Talk. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, now part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.